Hello, everyone. Welcome to our KaiNexus Training Team Office Hours webinar, aka the Banna Rippey Show, episode 17. My name is Ryan Rippey, and I am the Senior Customer Enablement Manager over here at KaiNexus. And as always, I am joined by my partner in crime, Solutions Engineer Matt Banna.
So, Rip, what did you get your mom for Mother's Day?
Oh crap! Is that this weekend?
No, it's next weekend.
Oh, good. I mean, I got a ton of great stuff. But what'd you get yours though?
The shout out. Hi, Mom.
Oh my God, man, these jokes are getting worse every webinar.
Yeah, but we don't have time for jokes. Did you see how many features came out in the last release?
Spoilers, Banna. Now what are we going to present about? All right. So for those of you new to our webinar series, welcome aboard. The way this works is we plan to nerd out here for the next 30 minutes or so on a KaiNexus topic that we will share with you all in just a bit. The purpose of these webinars is for us to review the hottest topics and latest and greatest features suggested by you, our customers. So before I reveal our topic for today, let's go over some housekeeping items real quick. Now, the webinar is being recorded. So we'll go ahead and send out the slides and recording to everyone after the webinar. Also, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to type those into the chat box. We will do our best to answer those in real time, as well as at the very end of the webinar if there is some time left over. If we are not able to get to your questions, please feel free to email us, and we'd be happy to respond via email as well. All right, let's take a look at our webinar topic for today that you've already spoiled, Banna, is 2.3.4 release. So earlier this week, we unveiled our latest 2.3.4 release featuring 67 new improvements.
That's a lot.
So that is a lot. There is quite a bit of material that we're going to go through today. So for today's webinar, we are going to be taking a deeper dive into some of those top new features that were in that release. Let's take a look at what's actually on our agenda. Ben, I like how we've been kind of breaking down these webinars lately. We're going to start with some simple header toolbar enhancements.
It's part of our continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement, just looking for the good flow on the webinars. From there, we're going to get into some item enhancements. We'll take a look at a couple new chart enhancements specific to the threshold charts in KaiNexus. We will take a look at a whole bunch of board enhancements, some new list enhancements, report enhancements. That's going to be a big one.
Big one.
Then for all of our admins that are on the training today, we will take a look at some new admin functionality on the back end, as well as a couple of new features all around attributes that I'm excited to share with everyone. All right, Banna, are you ready to rock and roll?
I am absolutely ready.
All right, let's jump out of our slide deck. Here we are in KaiNexus, already spoiling one of those board features, but we'll get to that.
Well, not if they watched our post-credit scene.
Take it away, my man.
All right, so the first thing that I have is what are you doing over here?
I'm messing around.
We know that you needed a way to search for boards. We found that it can be cumbersome to have to navigate the board menu, and this is going to give you a quick way to find and access a board. So you now have the boards check mark in your search bar. So including, projects, improvements, instance tasks. When you search for things, boards are also going to appear on this search.
Awesome. And so then when you look for a specific board, you'll be able to click in, be brought directly to that board. And so just keeping things nice and smooth and quick in the platform.
Next, we found that locations are pretty prevalent in KaiNexus. They're really all over the place.
You got your project location, your originating location, responsible, participating.
So we found that, like I said, since locations are all over the place, participating locations was sometimes confusing for some of our users. So if you're not using that, we wanted to hide it, but still be accessible for the people that do need it. So now if you need participating locations on a project, we have this click to add participating locations button. You can hit it and participating locations will pop up beneath the participants. So if you're not using it, it's totally cool. it'll be hidden for you. But if you do want to use it, you just hit that icon and it appears. Just make sure that you're aware that adding a location to the participating locations box gives all users in that location access to this item.
Beautiful, great job, Banna. So let's switch over to some new item features. First thing that I want to talk about is we've furthered the ability to add some placeholder text in some of those fields that you're working with. And so what I mean by that is I'm actually going to go ahead and create an A3 here. And you'll notice that here on this create A3 form that our background, our current condition, even our goals, we've included some tooltip text here, placeholder text, thank you, Banna, to just kind of give a further context, help guide users to the appropriate information that they should be entering into these fields. Now, this is nothing new. What we've done is, if I go ahead and create a quick test A3, I'll create this A3. Oh, these are all required. Fill out everything here on my form. Go ahead and create this. And then let's dive directly into that A3 and take a look at how we can add even further placeholder text within the actual item itself. So here within the background, for example, we actually filled out some information on the create screen, but if we were to clear out this information here, we've actually changed the text here. So here you can see that now it says, what details can you provide about this release? So whether you are creating an item, if you're going in and editing fields, this placeholder text can be used all throughout the item to, again, just help provide further context as to what sort of information you want people to fill out in those fields.
Yeah, and you can tell it even pops up down here in this box.
Okay.
There's no text appeared.
There you go. So here's an example of that root cause analysis. We haven't filled out anything here yet. So it says attach a fishbone diagram. So we would be able to go in here and follow along with that text as well. Next thing, let's, I'm going to switch gears, jump out of this A3. I'm going to search for a Kaizen event. And it's going to be our order entry redesign. So a couple of new features I want to point out on this specific template example we're going to use. The first is we've added the ability to put our attribute drop-down fields in ad hoc columns. So what that's going to look like, if I go ahead and edit the details here of this rapid improvement event, we have our event type and date, which is an ad hoc field. And so what we can do, if I go ahead and add a new row here, is for our event type, rather than actually clicking in here, I'll actually click and be able to choose from a drop down. So what this is allowing you to do is you can further define the type of response that's needed within these ad hoc fields, right? In addition to using attributes, we've also set it up so that you can use number fields. So typically it was usually just a free text. Now you can add attributes in there. You can add number fields in there. If you want to take advantage of this, reach out to your customer experience lead and they can get that set up for you on the template. Now, the next thing that I want to point out here, this is big,
super big.
This is big. This is a big feature, everyone. You now have the ability to vote on items in KaiNexus, okay? So you can vote on a group of items for prioritization. Project leaders are going to be able to set the number of times people can vote on items and provide that group of items for team members so that you can start to prioritize. So here on our Kaizen event project, you'll notice in the top right there is a panel for voting. And so right now we're able to see the total votes that have been cast, votes that I personally have cast, I haven't cast any quite yet, as well as how many remaining votes I have. So right now here I have 2 votes. What I would be voting on is any nested items on this rapid improvement event project. So if I was to jump over to, for example, the improvements tab here, we would have a whole bunch of improvements that I could actually click into, maybe this information not transferred. And if I determine that, hey, you know what, this is actually an improvement that I like and I'm voting on because I think we should prioritize this. I want us to work on this. You'll see there's a little icon here in the top left. If I hover over it, if I click on it, I'll be able to vote, but I can see my remaining votes. I can see those items I voted on. So let's go ahead and vote for this. You'll see how that'll change now and highlight that in blue. As I hover over it now, if I want to remove my vote, I can click it. I can see I have one more vote remaining, and I can also see now that that information not transferred, I voted on that particular item. So coming back to our project that's housing these improvements, if we take one more look at that voting panel, we can click in, we can view the results, we can see actually some of the information has been updated here. And so we have the total votes that have been cast, how many I've casted, how many I have left. I can see all of those items, how many votes they received. And as a project facilitator or leader, I could actually come in here and configure how many votes each person is going to have, as well as at the appropriate time, I can clear out all votes so that we can start from the beginning again.
Yeah, we know sometimes that you vote on things maybe once a week and you prioritize and then you recycle all those, clear all the votes and let people prioritize those new items.
In fact, I had a training this morning where the process was, they would vote on items and then they would have a weekly huddle where they would take a look at those items that had the most votes, decide to implement those, and then go ahead and clear out the votes for the remaining items so that those would get fresh votes the next week.
Yeah.
So this voting feature functionality is brand new to KaiNexus. We're extremely excited to introduce it. It is a peak Allen Robinson use case. So for those of you familiar with that, definitely reach out to your customer experience lead so we can get that set up for you as well.
And I will say we already have improvements for voting in the pipe already.
Oh yeah, so keep an eye out on our next release. We're already taking a look at voting take 2. So there'll be a whole bunch of additional feature functionality available on that as well. All right, Ben, a couple more small things I'm just going to point out here in our item. If I come over to the ellipses and want to save to PDF, you'll see now that we have the page size for A4 available. So for those of you printing out on an A4 size piece of paper, you can now easily choose that. There's also a custom here, and so you can come in and choose the specific dimensions around the size of paper that you might be using. So just another small thing I wanted to point out here while we were taking a look at within the item.
Yeah, and when we do the custom, you want to make sure that when you print it on your printer settings, you do fit to page, and you fill that up. So make sure that you have the least white space possible for you.
Good call. And we're going to make this even more user friendly, and in I think the next release where you'll kind of get a preview of that and have a good look into what exactly those dimensions should look like for you. Ben, I feel like I'm rambling. I'll let you jump in.
So I'm going to jump into a chart over here as soon as I close all these windows that Rippey opened up.
Sorry, man.
So we're going to jump into our employee sat scores. And what we've done is we've added the ability to add a goal panel to a chart in custom layout. So I made this custom layout from scratch. I made the chart metric real big in the upper right-hand side. And then now I actually am able to add my goal here. So if you're not using threshold charts, definitely take advantage of it. It's a super cool way to give visibility into what metrics are on track, what are not, how close we are. And then you can even add this goal to a widget card on a dashboard. So you can reach out to your CE lead to get access to some advanced chart training, teach you how to do all of that.
Beautiful. I love it. This looks great, man.
Switching context over to boards now from charts.
I'm so excited.
To boards.
I love boards.
The first thing is you can now put a description on a card.
Ooh.
So if you're trying to help your staff members know what a specific card is for, why the information is on it, you can add, when you hover over that card, you'll get that board description. So we say this card is all the items that I'm currently working on. So of course you can add whatever you like by heading over to layout, primary header, and then adding a description in that lower right-hand corner box.
Beautiful.
Now, if you watched our post-credit scene in our sneak peek teaser trailer, whatever you like to call it, release video, you'll know that you can now enable gradients on a card on a dashboard.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
I remember putting in that ticket and thinking, hey, that'd be pretty cool, and I never thought we'd get around to it. So I'm glad that we got it.
This is your one feature for the year.
Yeah, I don't get any more. Nobody develops things for me. They develop things for you guys. So all you do is you hit the enable gradient, choose a gradient color. So if I want to choose purple, I can choose purple.
Ooh.
And we change. Yeah, it looks pretty cool, right?
So keep in mind, everyone, that on the admin backend, you can actually configure organizational colors. So if you have specific hex codes that you can get from your marketing or branding department or what have you, you could go ahead and restrict the options that you would see here so that you can take some of those organizational code hex codes and actually build out a nice gradient here. I like that little
that's a good one.
Minnesota Vikings yellow to purple.
Of course, we're changing it. Blue and orange, go Bears. So we know you guys love your list and your tree view, but we know you didn't love having to select both columns it's the worst, right?
Yes.
So we've added the ability to actually copy back and forth between the two columns. So I customize my column on the left. We have our defaults on the right. I want to copy it over.
And there they are.
And
you can also clear all the columns if you kind of want to start from scratch. So that's available as well. And then Banna, I think we set it up so that when you're searching for the columns now, you can do a multi-select.
Yeah, you can pick as many as you want.
Okay, so as Banna's clicking through these, those are all being populated in the background, and then once he hits done, you can see all those as well.
So having to click and then open it up again and then click and then open up again.
This is huge. I love these features that eliminate click friction, man. This is I use this quite a bit, so I love it. All right, is it my turn?
Yeah, we're on lists.
Okay, let's go into the list. So first thing that I want to point out, let's jump over to our list section here on the advanced toolbar. I'm going to jump specifically into the filters, and we have now added a new filter option so that you can identify all of those items that have links or files attached. So that's going to be available underneath when you see common here. If you go to additional, from the drop down, you'll be able to find those items in the system that have any files attached, or you can also find items that have any links on them as well. So just continuing to make those filter options more. I blanked out. Adding people. This is actually, Banna, this was probably our developer's favorite ticket to implement, was adding the people filter to our item filter. And so by combining our two most powerful filters, you can help further refine your lists and reports. So what that's going to look like is if I come over to, let's say we're choosing user, and now rather than going in and choosing a specific user or role on a team, you'll see that the filter icon populates again here, where I can click in and now take advantage of the people filter. And so essentially what I could set up in here is, maybe I want to view all of those improvements in KaiNexus that have been submitted by inactive users.
Yeah, we realized you couldn't do that.
You couldn't do that before. And so now this is a great way to combine both of those filters. Again, this just helps to further refine your lists and reports. It's extremely powerful. So if you wanted to use that example, you could do so. You'll see there are some other people filter options here if you want to do based on role, if you want to see what, all of those improvements that have been submitted by a certain role in the system, a title, etc. This is just extremely powerful. So we were really excited to combine those lists in KaiNexus. While I'm in the filter screen, I also want to point out, we were talking participating locations earlier. And so we have added the ability, if you're using the location filter here, that you can also now filter down based on participating location. So I wanted to point that out since you had mentioned it earlier, Banna. This was not an option before. All right, I'm going to jump back to our board. You actually had the next feature that I want to talk about. So here on this My Improvements card that Banna was messing around with our gradients earlier, we realized that the last comment didn't give a whole lot of context as to when it was or who left it. And so you'll notice in the last comment column that we've added here on this card is you can now see the comment, and then you can also see who in KaiNexus wrote the comment and the date and time of that comment.
I would use that field all the time, but then I still have to click in to get the context about who left it and when and all that extra information.
So now all of that is easily captured in that last comment column for you. So super excited about that. In addition, when you are adding columns in a list or tree, whether it's in the list or the card view, here in the drop down, we now have the ability to add columns for collaborators, for example. So we can add collaborators, we can add participants, we can add participating locations. These weren't available previously, so now you have the ability to add those. Next one, Banna, I think I got to jump over to, let's check out a different board here. I'm going to come over to our expected costs and benefits. So one of the things that we now have available is you can visualize the soft savings and hard savings for that time savings impact you're using. Whether you are using with advanced ROI, maybe you have forecast and target in place. If you're using investment, all of that is available now. You'll have columns for all of those financial investment, financial impact, target, forecast, actual, everything under the sea is available now. And
I thought it was under the sun.
Under the sun? I like under the sea. Under the sea. And then you'll see here that you can also total these. So you can do a total and average for these numbers here at the bottom of this view. So this was a big request for, we used to have this and still have this for number fields, but now you can even take it a step further specifically for those quantitative impacts that you're using as well.
Create some custom reports on board using all your financial metrics here.
Exactly. Thank you, sir. And then the last thing, Banna, I'm going to just talk about is there is the option when you are working with these, with a list view or a tree view, if you come in and edit, you now have the ability to, I'm sorry, gotta go to the card. Editing here on the card, you now have the ability under view options if you want to wrap or not wrap that text.
I'm more of a rock guy, but we can wrap if you want.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there. So this is going to actually, would in this case, wrap all of those as it's doing. All of the columns, the text within those columns would wrap. If you wanted to unwrap, you can deselect that. So if you notice that when you first logged into KaiNexus and you're like, hey, wait a second, I want to switch it back, just go ahead and jump in here and enable that wrap of the text. Banna, what do we got next?
Reports, dude.
Ooh, reports.
Surprised you're not talking about these. These are your favorite. So I'm going to jump down our list real quick. You can now put all types of reports on a board. So before you can only put a certain couple of types, maybe the item curve, the activity over time, your impact summary, but now you can put everything.
Oh my God.
Cycle time by person, activity by person or location. What do we else got here? The impact by location, all of those can go on a board now.
Show us in the plus sign, Banna. I want to see all my options.
All right, there's a lot. You sure you want to see all of them?
Oh, so similar to the report section, you'll see you have the tabs for your activity, engagement, impact, attribute. So you can choose that tab and then choose the specific report that you want to add in any additional filters. This is just a great way to continue to customize boards for your staff and leaders, giving them the specific reports filtered down for the information that they need to be able to see. So this was a huge effort for our dev team. Round of applause to them. Having all of these reports now accessible as cards on a board. This is huge. This is game changing.
So you definitely have more reports in the board section. But if you go to the report section and you scroll down, you're like, whoa, where did all my reports go? There's only 6. I thought there were a bunch more before. We actually combined our project, improvement, and incident, if you have access to those, reports together. So if you click in to this item curve here, you used to have an improvement curve and a project curve. Now you just have an item curve, and you can select between projects, improvements, incidents, and now tasks and charts too. So we actually added functionality when combining these reports together.
I think that's the biggest thing, Banna, is that you didn't used to be able to have this ability to report at a task or a chart level. And with more people, especially using that KPI functionality of charts as a main workflow, now with the activity reports, you can drill down into any of those major workflows.
Yeah, so you'll be able to do that with all of your reports now. Choose by even task and chart, which is awesome. So we also made a change. We renamed this report our activity over time report, and we added a total and a statuses view.
Awesome.
Similar to our attribute report.
Mm-hmm. And you can take it even a step further and use the toggles to filter down based on create, start, do, or complete date as well.
Yeah, just a ton of options here to see lots of information.
I love it.
Next, you can now put your engagement by location report into a bar chart.
So yes, a lot of these reports originally in grid. That looks pretty good.
It's a demo environment.
Okay. So yes, taking advantage of those reports that are usually visualized in a grid format, we're now given the ability to visualize in a chart format. So if you come in here and have a nicer looking report and filter that down, you could then go ahead and add that as a card to a board.
Listen, it's not my fault that everybody always logs into KaiNexus all the time.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's what we encourage.
And then lastly, in our attribute report, anytime that you assign a color to an attribute, that will now be the color that appears.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah, so each of these category attributes all has a color assigned, and so now you choose the color instead of them being randomly, arbitrarily assigned, because we know sometimes you use attribute as a status, whether it's on track or behind, and maybe that behind status that you wanted to be red got labeled green randomly. That's not helpful at all. So we wanted to make sure that everything got assigned properly.
I love that. This is an awesome report, this attribute in pie chart format. Probably one of my faves. All right, Banna, for all of our admins that are on the webinar today,
You're no admin. I don't know why you're talking about this.
Come on, I am by far a product expert. Let's jump into the admin section here on the advanced toolbar. Just a few things that I want to point out. A lot of these are in relation to a big theme for us in 2019. In addition to adoption is also unification. And so a lot of these are going to be along that adoption lines. Here in the admin, if I come over to general, each of these, you might notice that first and foremost that we kind of reordered what was in here. And we've added info icons, so some tooltips for each of these, just to provide further context into exactly what this feature is, how to take advantage of it. You'll see there's the learn more where you can be taken directly to our support site. So we just want to continue to provide as much context as we can.
Well, I mean, I knew what they are. I know you didn't know what they are, Ryan, but now you can with those tooltips.
You got jokes, Banna. Under system, we have login notice. So for those of you who are taking advantage of the login notice, when you're creating the login notice, we've added this little question mark. So if you click on this, this will take you to a support page that explains exactly what a login notice is, but also will walk you through how to set up fancy login notices. I'm sure you noticed with our release video, you can put videos, you can put images, you can make those.
I hope they notice our release videos.
So do I, man. We got quite a bit of views on that last one, right? We got quite a bit of registrants on this webinar too. I think we're doing something right. So this will provide some further context as
to your friends.
How to take the best advantage of the login notice. You'll also notice there's a new option under system for text customization. So this is actually giving you the ability now to customize the welcome as well as the intro message on the activation screens. So when new KaiNexus users get activated and they receive that email, you can customize this introduction message here of what they're going to see there. And then when they actually log in and start to kind of sign their life away to use KaiNexus and
our ULIT's not that bad.
Set the password and all that, you can also give them a personalized welcome message as well. So these are now options available here in the admin section. And then the last thing that I'll point out, this is something that drove me crazy, Banna. I'm sure it drove a lot of our customers crazy. When you're working within the network, we now added the ability to collapse all and expand all in the network. So that's great. And in addition to that, as you're working in here with the network, maybe we come in and, we, kind of roll up everything under location, and then we come over here and we're adding a nested location. Anything we do when we come back to the screen, it's going to remember here what we have kind of laid out for us, what's been expanded, what's been collapsed. So this is just makes it much easier when you're coming in here and building out your network, that you don't have to have it refresh and have everything expanded out again, and then try and find exactly in the network where you were looking for. So that is another thing you'll notice here as well. Banna, we're doing good on time. I haven't seen any questions come through yet. I have two more features here that I want to talk about specific to attributes, if you don't mind, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, take it away.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is what's referred to as your location's attributes. So what this means is you can now add a location to an attribute to help users quickly access the attributes relevant to their workflow. So from an admin standpoint, you'll notice now when we come to admin under organization, all of your attributes used to be listed out under here. And if you're an organization that has quite a bit of attributes that you're using,
like 50, right?
It could be, yeah. So now when you click into attributes, you'll be able to see those, but more importantly, it's going to filter down based on location. And so you can now come in and set a location on these attributes. What that's going to look like for not only admins, but for other general users as well, is that when you're filtering, whether it's in a list or a report, those attributes that are specific to your day-to-day and your workflow, when you come in here to the filter and scroll down, you'll see now you have your location's attributes. So this allows you to easily access and manage those attributes that are relevant to you because they've been tagged with your location. And if you're looking for other attributes that maybe aren't part of your workflow, don't worry. If you scroll down, there is this other attribute. So any of those other attributes being used in your KaiNexus system will still show up in here as well. Now, not to add any confusion, but we've also introduced the concept of a network attribute. And so what that is going to allow you to do is add attributes specific to your network locations. So you might have noticed when we were in the network before that over here on the right-hand side, there's this executive sponsor column. And so what we've done, it looks like, Banna, you've set it up so that if I go into any of these locations, if I was to edit this, I now have this network attribute where I can tag that location with a specific value. And so in this case, what you've done is it looks like you have various departments that Clint, myself, and you might be overseeing. And so now what we can do, whether we're filtering down a list, if we're using a report, we can now take advantage of these location attributes. Those will be visualized if we come back, if we come back to the list section. You'll see there was a little icon on one of those attributes as I was scrolling before. So here we can see executive sponsor. This is a network attribute. So kind of the use case around this is maybe in the network, I am overseeing, different departments, but maybe I'm not overseeing, a location below. The way you set it up here, Banna, is, you are actually overseeing sales. Maybe you don't need to see what's going on in account exec or engineer, just sales, just Austin. These are different network locations, different level types. So this just allows it easier for you to start to pull in the information that you need to have insight into. Did I explain that well, man?
I think you did a good job.
All right. If you guys have questions with that, please feel free to reach out. I got a couple of questions here from Josh. So Josh, you got, can I customize placeholders or does my KaiNexus contact have to do that? It's a great question. That is set up on the back end by your KaiNexus experience lead. So if you want to get that placeholder text sent over to them, they can go ahead and add that in for you so that you can see that in your templates. And then you just had a follow up on that. So hopefully that answers your question there, Josh. Thank you for asking. Banna, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. We're a few minutes over, so why don't you go ahead and take us out, my man?
All right. Well, thanks everybody for the time today. We hope these webinars are valuable. I mean, I know we have lots of fun putting them together, and hopefully you have fun listening as well. We appreciate your feedback, so hit us up on Twitter, find us on LinkedIn. Questions, comments, compliments, whatever you got. Be sure to sign up for our next webinar, which we'll be hosting sometime in June. We don't have an exact date on that yet, but we'll make sure that we let y'all know when we do. And to check out all of our webinars from this year and last year, head over to kainexus.com/webinar/office hours. And I think we have a couple more questions that came in. If you want to.
Yeah, it looks like Josh he's on a roll here. So when adding locations to a card, will it have the tree view now? Let's see if he currently in there by group. Adding locations to a card, will it have the tree view now?
Participating locations maybe with that.
Participating, so that is available in the tree view. So anything that we showed today for the filters and the column options, those will show up in both list view and in tree view. So hopefully that answers your question, Josh. If not, feel free to shoot us an email and be happy to jump on a screen share and walk you through that. Banna, you weren't showing everybody all of the tabs I set up here.
You
for
normally click that. I talk, you click.
So we'll have our next KaiNexus training team office hours webinar sometime in June. So be sure to come over to kainexus.com/webinars and be on the lookout for that. As Banna mentioned, all of our past webinars from this year and last year are available at kainexus.com/webinars/office-hours. And then I think this is where you left off.
If you have any questions or any more questions or need assistance with configuration or some of the things that we talked about today, like that placeholder text, you can reach out to your customer experience lead and they can help you get it all set up. In the meantime, we definitely encourage you to check out our support page at support.kainexus.com. Our main man Noah out there putting in support pages all the time, helping you get all the information you need.
Shout out Noah.
I'm Matt Banna and he's Ryan Rippey.
Keep improving, everyone.
And we'll see you next time.